start the new?
Actually, yeah. Did Altitude transition into?
No,
this,
so like
or-
basically what Altitude was it was just kind of a program for just like young adults
Yeah.
type thing. And so I just with a bunch of stuff, we just kind of finished that in probably, I guess it would have been 2017, I think.
Okay.
We stopped doing that,
Okay.
or maybe 2018.
Yeah.
No, 2017. I think it was 2017 we
Yeah.
stopped. And then, yeah, basically, like, for me, the church that we have now, Kingdom Church, it was sort of just like something that's kind of always been in my heart. The whole idea of it was like I wanted to start a church where people that wouldn't normally want to go to church would want to go to church.
Sure.
That was kind of the idea with it.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so, I mean, I've had that idea for a while. Probably, even like when I was doing Altitude, right? That was something like in the future that I've always kind of wanted to do. So it didn't necessarily transition out of that, but ideas and thoughts and dreams were bred there. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, then, I mean, our church, we started, so like in order to start our church, I had to quit my job where I was at, the church I was at. And so I quit there in May 2018. And then basically from there, we went full board with the church plant. And basically what it looked like was just started selling the dream to people. Kind of like, I mean, really like any startup, right? Like you just need people to invest into it. And so we started just really meeting in my basement. And so it was like,
Oh, wow. Okay.
and I don't got a big basement, but we're just moving everything that we could possibly move and fit as many people. And so I think 4 times we did the same thing where I just spoke and I just kind of talked about what it's going to be, what the dream is, what the vision is. And then we just, by the end of it, we asked people to make decisions, whether they want to like help us financially or whether they want to just join our team and walk alongside with us. And so that was May 2018 that we started that process. And then we actually started the church in September 2018.
Nice. So 1 year already.
1 year, yeah.
Nice. Oh, wow,
We
okay,
just celebrated 1 year
Congrats,
last
man.
week.
Yeah.
Nice.
So would you say Altitude was kind of like version 1.0?
Yeah, for sure. It was, I mean, yeah, it's for sure. That's the best way to put it, really, is like version 1.0. Like, it was something that I think it was like the scaled back version, like the didn't know what I was doing version, just kind of step out and try something different. So, yeah, that's probably the good way to describe it. It was, if I were to describe it, I'd basically say like Altitude is kind of like what I'm doing now, except without any vision or any plans. Just something that I did hoping that it would work out. And so, but I learned a lot from it. And I mean, it's like anything, right? Like, I think not everything succeeds, but you can always learn stuff from it.
Yeah. As long as you're moving, right?
Yeah.
Like as long as you're doing stuff, I think that you can learn and grow from it. So
Yeah.
that's really cool, man. And how is it to, be up on stage all the time in front of a bunch of people? And
Hey, you must have some good public speaking skills by now.
Yeah.
Or always.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think in the last year, like, just at my church alone, let alone other churches, I think I spoke, like, probably 48 weeks out of 52. So,
Damn.
nice.
Shit.
so yeah, you kind of get used to it.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, I mean, honestly, like, I think that out of everything that I do, public speaking is probably the one thing that, I mean, I think I'm naturally gifted at it.
Okay. Yeah.
And so, but being in the role I am now as opposed to like before, it's like the speaking aspect is just like a really small part of what I do now, because that's the big lessons I'm learning is like when you're the head person, everything and eventually comes back to you at some point. So that's, so as far as speaking, like I love doing it. And I mean, speaking, like when I was in high school, one of my dreams was to be a stand-up comedian.
Okay.
Really?
And so
Cool.
that's, so I think I always wanted to be in front of people. At FX, I was in drama 10, 20, 30.
Yeah. Okay. I do
FX
remember
Live,
that.
all that good
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah. FX Live.
Yeah. Were you in drama?
No, but I remember watching it and you being in it. So.
Yeah.
I do remember that for sure.
Yeah. So no, I've always like public stuff it's weird because like I'm more like, I would say I'm quieter and like shyer. Like
That's always kind of what I thought about you for sure. Like
Yeah.
in high school, I thought you were just just a quieter person, right?
Yeah.
Overall. But
Yeah, it's weird. Like I'm quiet naturally, but then
give him a mic. Give
Just
him a mic and let him go.
Yeah,
Just give me a mic.
Honestly.
Yeah. So I honestly, like, I think a lot of, I mean, I don't know. I've never done like quantitative research, but I think a lot of people that public speak are actually introverted naturally. Maybe they're just waiting. That's it's all inside, so they just got to get rid of it. But I mean, I'm sure there's extroverts too that speak, but
Yeah, I think it's that whole introverted versus extroverted. Thomas and I have had like pretty deep discussions on this, and I think that like people are introverted in certain situations and then extroverted in other certain.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Like, and you know,
it's way too. It's hard to paint it as, okay, here's this box and here's this box, and you're in one or the other all the time.
Yeah.
That I don't think is
I mean, I would.
accurate.
Yeah, that's the best way to say it. Like to me, if I'm like with my closest people, I'll be like the most extroverted
oh, absolutely,
guy there is, right?
Yeah.
And then if I'm with randoms, then I'm like, I'm not gonna speak. But it's funny though, because like when, like I'll tell people, like especially people that see me speak, like I'll tell them like, yeah, I'm kind of quiet, and they don't believe me, right? They're like,
Right. Yeah.
no, you're not. Like I see you, like
Yeah.
telling stories and whatever, and I'm like, no. Ask Josh in high school.
There you go.
Yeah, definitely.
So would you say it gives you energy when you're on stage though? Like, do you feel like after you step off, do you feel more energetic, or do you feel like it was a little bit draining? Because I think that would probably be telling.
Yeah. It's honestly it's a little bit of both, I guess. Like I think I feel, if you feel like you did a good job, you feel energized.
Right.
Not every time you feel like you did a good job, and so sometimes like I have those moments like where I finish speaking and like, I mean, we'll generally do a song after, and so sometimes like during the song I'm just like like, oh man, like that was so bad.
Oh, really?
Right. Like I mean,
Yeah.
thankfully, like that's rare. It's for me at least to feel that way.
Yeah.
Right. And but yeah, so I mean, I don't know if it's necessarily an energy thing as opposed to like sometimes I'm like, yeah, that went really well, and
Right.
sometimes just like, but my energy is pretty much the same
Fair enough.
either way. I wouldn't say I'm energized or not energized. Cool. I'm introspective is the word.
Interesting.
Yeah, for sure. Good word. Yeah. Awesome. So, just out of curiosity's sake, when did you decide you wanted to be a pastor, I guess, to give it the most basic question, right?
Yeah, it's definitely not one of those things that I've always wanted to do.
Right. Yeah.
For sure not.
Yeah.
Like, especially high school, like when I knew you guys more, like it was never on my radar.
Yeah. To me, and I don't mean this in a bad way, but it was surprising when you first became one in a way, or you would have been like, oh, really? Like, it never quite expected it.
Yeah.
No, I mean, honestly, there's, I've never met anyone that's been like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. Even my family was like, okay. Like, my dad was like trying to medicate me, right? Like, what's going on here? So, no, it was, a surprise to everyone, myself included. Honestly, like, not to sound overly spiritual, but like at the end of the day, like the only way I can even describe anything is that for me, like God just literally changed my life in such a way. And then as he was entering into my life, I was just like, I had no direction. I didn't know what I wanted to do.
Sure.
And so I was literally just like, hey, like whatever you want me to do, I'm like, I'll do it. Just make it clear, like make a way, and I'll do it. And then so basically like through a series of events, and I mean, the first time like I felt like, okay, like you're gonna go into ministry, I was kind of like hell no, like I don't think so, right? And so I kind of just pushed it away for a while, and then I just kind of kept feeling it, right? Like this pull, like this is what I need to do, this is what I'm supposed to do. And a lot of times, like at least kind of how I felt that God's worked in my life is that things I don't want to do, it's usually him, right? Or it's like things I want to do is usually me. And so like it was not something that like I wanted to do.
Yeah.
It was just something like, okay, like this is what it is, right? And so I guess me kind of having no like set direction, right, of like what I wanted to do, I was more open to it. Like I'd already at that point, I'd done a year of psychology undergrad,
Right.
in college, and I was just doing it to do it because that's a classic degree, psychology.
Sure,
Yeah,
absolutely.
for sure.
Yeah.
That's what everyone takes, and they don't know what they want to do. So, yeah, and then that's basically the story. And then my next year, like, so the school I was at, they had like a pastoral program.
Right.
So I switched my degree to it, and then the rest is history.
Wow.
Yeah. So, but like, yeah, I mean, even when I was in it, like at the start, because I mean, you don't know what's in you. I was like, I don't know what this is gonna look like.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Right? Like
yeah.
I've never spoken before in front of people. Like I've done FX Live, but so it was
That's my experience.
yeah, that was my
Yeah.
experience. So
Yeah.
no, that's kind of it in a nutshell.
Yeah, that was a good question because same thing. I was always wondering what made you decide that path, and that's really cool, man.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, like unless like your dad is a pastor or something like that, like I've never really met anyone that's like, I want to be a pastor.
Yeah, that's probably a pretty good point.
Yeah.
I think, right? So yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, most people like, and I mean, when I was like in school and this my program and stuff, like by the end of it, like all my best friends like were pastors, right? And so
Right.
I mean, they all have their stories. Like my really good buddy at the time, who kind of, and like he was a big reason I think I was even open to it. Like he was, I met him at school, and his name's Jorge, and he had this crazy story. He was a drug dealer in Winnipeg. He went to jail for selling crack, and I guess he'd have been like 21 at the time. I think I was 18 when I met him, and so he was there, and then like he was in the pastoral program, and so that kind of like blew my mind because I was like, I thought pastors are like just like weird old dudes, right? And so I think to have someone like that to kind of look at and be like, hey, like maybe there's more to it. So,
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, the path isn't like whatever brings you there. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not being the cut and dry image of what perhaps you think a pastor might be.
Yeah.
In their entire life necessarily, right?
Exactly.
So, yeah. Oh, that's really interesting, actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
So was it like this? I'm gonna sound super ignorant about this.
Yeah.
Ask away.
Yeah. So was it like just this inner voice that came and told you that's what it was, or?
Yeah, I mean, like, God is probably like one step away from schizophrenia, I guess. But
And his dad is a
in
psychiatrist.
terms
So
of
this
his
is
voice, but I mean,
Yeah.
it's, to be honest, like the way that I feel like God speaks, it's not always like in an audible voice you
Okay.
hear in your head.
Yeah.
It's
Right.
more so like, at least in my experience, like it's just like it's an impression,
Right.
And it's something that's just like you can't get over it, right? Like it just doesn't leave, you know. And obviously, like there's the aspect where like you're praying, and so it's like, okay, like God, like what is it that you want me to do, type thing, right?
Sure.
And so then like this thing just kind of like comes, and it's like over and over and over again. It's this impression. But then, I mean, there was other things that happened too, like that summer when I was wondering what I should do. Like I was working at this summer camp.
Yep.
And I had these two guys that were there, and basically like from the second I met them, they were like, hey, like we think that you should you're supposed to be taking theology next year. And I was like, that's weird, because like that's what like I've been feeling, kind of, right? And so it's, yeah, I mean, the way that I feel like God speaks is in different ways. Like
Yeah.
it's not just this voice, like audible voice.
It's everything
And
around you.
Yeah, it's just it's everything. It's situations. It's feelings. And
Yeah.
a lot of times, like for me especially, like you have to look back and be like, huh, like I think that, like with the broader picture of things, right? You can be like, I think that God's hand was in play there, right? Like I even look back at my whole life, right? And I'm like, okay, like God's hand was, it's even like literally like things like drama class,
Right.
right? Where it's like, I think I'm just there for a good time, but like I'm also there like without me even knowing it, like honing skills, I guess, to be in front of people. So yeah, I guess, I don't know if that answers your question well.
No, I think
I
it
think
does
so.
kind of. Yeah. I mean, I have a lot of questions, man.
Yeah.
So why we got him here? So
Yeah, bring them on. I have some answers. We'll find out
Interesting.
how many answers I have.
This could be a very
Yeah.
largely listened to episode.
maybe. Yeah.
Or none. Everyone's like, oh, pastor,
Actually, yeah. Yeah.
give me the comedian.
Yeah. I mean, I think you've been pretty. Well, you even said trying to create a church for young people who wouldn't regularly go to church. You want to make it more. Is palatable the right word to use without offending anyone, sort of thing, right? Try to make it more. Because, I mean, our parents grew up going to church, and then, at least for me, like, we went once a year sort of thing at Christmas. And, we did go to Catholic school our whole lives, but it's kind of been transitioned away from, I
Catholic
suppose.
school is kind of,
Yeah. We know what it's like.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, to me, that's my whole experience too. Like, I obviously went to Catholic high school, but like even like junior high, elementary, I went to public school, right? And so like I didn't grow up with Christian friends, right? And so like to me, when I got into like ministry and like I'm surrounded by Christian people, and like a lot of the stuff we do, I was kind of like, man, like I don't think any of my like people, like my non-Christian friends, like I don't think they'd really like roll to these things. Like I don't know if they'd want to be there.
Yeah.
And like for a lot of stuff, like, and I'm sorry if I offend church people, but I was like, I barely want to be here, right? So I'm like, why would like, I was like, how can I expect them to want to be there if I don't even want to be there myself, right? And so that was kind of like the whole thing, like even with altitude, and then transitioning to kingdom that we have now. That's kind of in my heart for everything. Like I'm always in everything I do, even when I speak, like. I mean, just for example, like I'll be like when I'm speaking, when I'm preparing a message, like I do it with the mindset that like Thomas might be there this week, right? Or Josh might be there, right?
Sure.
Just like in a way that I need to speak so people can understand it, right? Because like I think that's one of the not drawbacks, but perceptions people have is like if I go there, like I'm not gonna know what anyone's talking about, right?
Well, I think just from my experience going to church in the handful of times I've been there. It's unrelatable.
Yeah.
Like they're reading verses from the Bible. Passages, I guess is the right word.
Yeah.
Passages?
Verses. They're
Verses.
both work.
Okay.
Both are correct.
This is where I'm at, guys. And it's just kind of like it's unrelatable to you. Whereas I think even just the one or two times I went to your altitude, it was very much more modern and relatable.
Modern.
Yeah.
I almost equated it in a way, and when I told Josh about it, it was a touch more like motivational speaking, mixed with a sermon, right? Now, granted, I believe altitude was a bit less structured, perhaps, than maybe what you do regularly, but you know what I mean, right? So, I actually really enjoyed a lot of the messages from it, frankly. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think that to me, like how I've communicated wherever, whatever it's been, I think I'm better, obviously, as I go on. The more you do something, you get better. But my style has never changed. Like, to me, I've always...
Yeah.
I try to put as many illustrations as I can, personal stories, just things. And at the end of the day, like, I think that what I believe is, like, the Bible preached right, it shouldn't be boring, right? Yeah. And, like, this guy says it, but I say it, too, because I love it. But he always says, the Bible's not boring, you're boring, right? And so that's, like, literally, like, if I could just like describe some stories to you guys, you'd be like, well, that's in the Bible, right? Like, so it's not like that's as communicators, like that's our job, that's our fault, right? Like if it sucks, like that's your fault. It's not God's fault, it's your fault, right? And so to me, I take it like personally, like that's like when I talk about like coming off the stage after, like if I ever have a moment of like insecurities or whatever, that's my insecurities. Like, man, I hope I didn't make that boring, right? Because like I don't think that anything done properly should be boring. Like I think that it should be life-giving.
Yeah. No, I get it.
So,
that makes sense for sure.
Yeah. So I mean, I've never tried to be someone I'm not. I just be myself, right?
I think people can't relate if you do that.
Yeah.
If people feel like you're not being yourself, it's just
Yeah, it's like that whole like that preacher voice people have, like where it gets like deeper and like I'm just Harrison, man. I'm just trying to I'm just being me. So, but I think it's like anything, right? Like even in podcasting, which I'm sure you guys have experienced, like people want to hear from Thomas and Josh, not
the caricatures
exactly,
of Thomas and Josh,
exactly.
or
Right,
whatever.
100%. Yeah.
And it's for everything, right? Just be yourself. So I mean, I'm sure, like, even, you know, in every form of communication, like, that's what they'll tell you, right? Number one thing is be yourself.
Yeah.
So
what do you think of? I'm going to get deep on this one, man.
By all means.
What do you think of the increased prevalence of atheism in our society? What do you think is causing that?
I mean, I think that at the end of the day, like, atheism to me isn't, like, Christians get scared of atheism in a sense, like, as if it's like some enemy or something like that. But I think in a sense, like, it's not the worst thing, because atheism is still a belief system.
Right.
It's just a belief in nothing.
Right.
But that's like
an undying belief in nothing too, right?
Yeah.
So I think that, I mean, where it stems from, like, obviously, especially in Canada, like, we, even more than the U.S., like, we're a post-Christian country, right? And so Christianity is not the predominant worldview like it once was, like, or even like it is in the States, right? The U.S. is different than us, right?
Yeah.
And so it's, I mean, as far as, like, why people are atheists, I think that a lot of it is because we're in this post-Christian culture. Like, there's literally people that have grown up, like, not going to, like, church or having any, you know, any influence of anything, right? Whereas, like, maybe the generation before us, it was like everyone at some point was introduced to church in some way.
Right.
And so now we have a generation of people that have no history of church, and, like, they've never stepped into a church. And then maybe everything that they've heard about church or heard about God is, like, super negative and super, like, I don't want to be affiliated with that. And so atheism just kind of seems like the logical solution to people that still want to believe in something.
Right.
So there's still a lot of people who are like, I don't know what I believe, right? It's like,
Yeah.
whatever. But I think for atheism, a lot of times it's kind of like a stark stance, in a sense, like, against Christianity, where it's like, I don't want to believe in a God. There is no God. Whereas, like, I guess an agnostic, I don't know if you've heard that word before.
I have. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
That's just kind of someone who's like, I don't know for sure what's out there, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah.
I think everybody believes in something. It's just dependent on what that is. Like,
Yeah.
I think science is now almost like the religion,
Yeah.
you know, where people are giving everything to science, and science has all the answers.
Yeah.
And I don't know about that, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I did a thing last January. There's a bunch of messages basically just kind of answering big questions people have about Christianity. And I did one on science, right? Like, does science jibe with Christianity?
Right.
And I mean, I don't want to bore you guys for 45 minutes, but
I find this very fascinating, by the way.
Absolutely.
So,
yeah, I'll send you that. I can send you that message, the link, so you can
Yeah.
listen to the whole thing in detail. I also haven't, like, I don't got the stats memorized and stuff
Right,
like that.
yeah.
But no, I think science points to God, right? And I think that science, I mean, I believe God created everything, right? And so
Sure.
I think that science is just a function of what God has created, right? And He's created the world with order and in order to point to things. And the thing is, like, even if you go with a predominantly science worldview, where it's like science explains everything, like, for example, like the Big Bang, right?
Sure,
Like,
yeah.
that's, you can believe in the Big Bang, but you're still left with the question, like, what
caused
caused
it?
the Big Bang,
Yeah.
right?
Like,
So-
what came before
What was
that?
before.
Exactly.
100%,
So
yeah.
everything, like, inevitably, no matter what your belief, it's you're still in some way gonna circle back to this question of, like, this ultimate, like, creator. Where did everything come from?
You run out of solutions
Yeah.
eventually in a lot of science, right?
Yeah. I almost don't think that we can fathom, you know, like, how grand the answer is, you know? I don't know. I've done a lot of soul searching for this sort of thing, for sure. I don't know. Yeah. It's I've also read it. There's a book called, I want to say it's called The Serpent's Promise. I'll look up on the break what the actual title is, but it's actually a book that points to how religion and science can coexist. It's very fascinating. There is even, if you get down to, like, a genetic level of people, there's, I want to say it's a crazy small amount of people that you can trace back the ultimate lineage of pretty much everybody on this planet to.
Yeah.
So at one point in time, there was perhaps
a handful of people
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
Earth, right?
Yeah, it's the. I mean, I'm not gonna. I don't want to speak and sound.
Bites.
I don't
No,
know what the word
absolutely
is,
not.
But
yeah.
yeah, I was listening to a thing too. The idea of like a genetic Adam and a genetic Eve, right?
Right. Yeah.
Where everything kind of started. So,
Yeah. The book is absolutely
Right,
fascinating.
right.
That it,
Interesting.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, and it kind of it doesn't take sides. It's just like they
Mhm.
can actually coexist.
Yeah.
Which is very interesting to me too. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
I feel like because there's a lot of atheists out there who are very much in your face
Oh yeah.
about it,
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
almost as much as, let's say, an in-your-face Christian person
Yeah.
or something, right? To give stark opposites, but
Mhm.
that's equally as annoying too, at least to
Oh,
me.
100%.
right?
Yeah.
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 And
yeah.
to me, I always think, I guess I'm more of the camp of I don't maybe know the solution, but
Mhm.
or the answer, I guess would be the better word, but
Does anybody though?
exactly. And then I think atheism is there's kind of a egocentrism to it of we humans are so great, there's no way there can be something more than us,
Yeah.
right? And I think that's an extremely narrow worldview as well,
Yeah.
right? And like you just said, okay, yeah, you can go, even if everything's absolutely correct, back to the Big Bang.
Mhm.
There's still a whole
Yeah.
whack beyond that of what it maybe doesn't answer. So,
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's always, I think, in life, like,
hmm
there's always two extremes, right? Where it's opposite ends of the
yeah,
spectrum.
yeah, for sure.
And
So,
I mean, honestly, like, I think, I don't know if you guys see this, but like, I sort of feel like we kind of live just our culture where people feel like they need to be on an extreme
in one
somewhere,
camp or the other,
right?
absolutely.
And it's
yeah.
like, this is our enemy and we don't.
yeah,
And
yeah,
I don't know. To me, like, I find that if you live in extremes, like, it's going to be a lonely place and you're
yeah.
going to be filled with hate more than.
Yeah, it kind
than
of
anything.
forces you to dislike, 49 or 50% of everyone else, right?
Exactly.
Which is, we've talked about that before, right? This is my box. This is your box.
Yeah.
Everyone in that box is bad.
Mhm.
Everyone on this box is good, right? Like, I think we're pretty up the middle on most things in
Yeah.
life. And
I'm gonna
perspective.
plug my blog here, joshblaze.com.
Hey, no, but I'm bleeping this out. No free ads.
the_middle. Literally 3 days ago, I released an article. I just like to write all the time. It's called The Middle.
Yeah.
And I say in it that the truth lies probably somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
And if you're willing to go there, you might be able to find it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, not to get preachy on you guys, but if like the thing.
By all
Preach away,
means,
my
by all
friend.
means.
Yeah, I'm gonna start
Yeah.
preaching. The thing that I love about Jesus, like when I actually like understand him, and one thing, like when I understand Jesus, back to this idea of the Bible, like the Bible's
Yeah.
not boring.
Mhm.
The more I understand him, like, I mean, the better he is. But the thing about Jesus is that he was always in the middle, right? And that's why, like, if you know his story, like religious people, that's who killed him.
Right.
It wasn't atheists. It was religious people that killed him. And so the religious people didn't like him. And like there was like these two sects, right? Where it's like extreme on one side, extreme on
Yeah.
the other, and Jesus is in the middle.
Yeah.
Right. And so for me, like, I want to live my life like Jesus. Like, I want to find myself in the middle, right? And,
Yeah.
and I think that, like, for Christians, and I mean, that the bad heat that they get a lot of times, like Christians, like,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
their fault.
Yeah,
Like, they brought it upon themselves, right? Because they're trying to be like in this extreme, right? Where
Right.
but Jesus is somewhere in the middle. And I mean, to your blog, I got to check it out now. But I think that
There you go.
it's, yeah, and
I
that's,
got one reader.
you got one new subscriber.
yeah.
But yeah, and I mean, the middle's the place, there's more friends in the middle, I think, than anywhere.
Yeah,
so.
it's
Yeah.
a very good point.
Yeah.
I think it's
That's true.
Yeah, you just got to think, like it's just, you got to ask questions about everything.
Yeah.
And the people that don't ask questions about everything and think in absolutes,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. That's actually very well said about Jesus being in the middle for those of us who I have at least okay-ish Bible history just because I took it for,
Yeah.
quite a few years.
12
right?
years.
So, yeah.
I did
Were you
kind
in Catholic elementary?
of, for up till grade 3.
Oh, okay.
Then grade 4, I switched out and then I went back in junior high.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. I mean,
I feel like at FX though, I mean, maybe my memory's jaded, but from my religion classes, all I remember is watching like movies the whole
Yeah,
time.
you'd watch. What's the Denzel Washington football movie? Remember the Titans? And,
Yeah,
you'd watch. I swear
yeah,
to God,
you would.
sorry. We definitely watched that movie a lot, and I honestly think I watched that
Like that's
3 times a year in junior high and high school.
Yeah, I
right?
remember.
Yeah.
We watched. Which ones did we watch? Like in grade 12, we watched the one with like Samuel L. Jackson, I think, and he's like a black. I mean, obviously he's black. He's always black. In this movie, he was black.
Yeah, yeah.
But it was, I don't know, he was on trial for
Snakes
some-
on a plane. No, I'm just kidding.
He's
was
on
it,
trial for.
Are you thinking of To Kill a Mockingbird?
No.
Is he in
we
that
wa-
No, he wasn't in.
No, he
that,
wasn't.
no.
I think we watched that one in English class.
Yeah,
though.
we did.
Yeah,
we
that was
did.
English,
Yeah.
but
It
yeah.
was a good movie, good
But,
book too. But,
You know,
which they're trying to take out of the
Yeah.
system. But
maybe there's something to that where religion class was always kind of a mail-it-in class at FX, and just some of the, frankly, some of the teachers who taught it, and you would just kind of do whatever, and everyone neglected it, and maybe that's
3
where.
credits free.
Yeah.
you want to talk mailing in?
Yeah.
I did modules. All
Oh yeah,
3
and
years.
then like half the school.
I was
did
hockey academy,
modules,
right?
right?
So I did modules.
Yeah.
So I did
So-
1, 2, 3 modules plus I did what's the one where you're supposed
Comm.
to calm.
Oh,
So I
career
did
and
that as
life
a
management.
module
But
too.
comm is more about like sex ed and stuff, right?
I'll
Not
tell
for
you. I'll
me.
tell you guys a funny comm story that I remember.
Yeah.
I don't. What was the baseball academy teacher's name? Do you guys remember?
No,
No idea.
no idea.
So he was my teacher,
Okay.
and we had, I don't know what the project was, but like we had to write a letter to our moms.
Oh. Mom
Great
things.
great class.
Yeah.
But like, you know, have you guys ever heard "Dear Mama" by Tupac?
Oh yeah.
So like I just literally copy and pasted Tupac's lyrics to "Dear Mama," and I handed it in for my assignment. And he didn't know, and he was just like, cause like I don't know if you remember the song, like it's literally like.
Oh, I remember that.
I know
the song.
exactly.
Yeah,
the
like
song,
talking about like I was
Yeah.
in jail for slinging crack, and all he wrote in like the comments, he was like, "This is to your mom?" ? But still, like I think I got like a 80% or something. So
Oh my
That's
gosh.
funny. Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
That's
it's a
hilarious.
joke class, but
Yeah, well, I mean modules. You just
Yeah.
wrote whatever and handed it in to Shizadi, I think. And
Yeah. Honestly, I don't think I ever did. No, I never did modules. You know what? Maybe I convinced them to let me do religion modules in grade 12, just because of when my spares were. I didn't want to like move
Yeah.
them and switch to other classes and stuff. But I never did this. But I do remember with the comm modules, a thing that would happen. It was oh crap, I didn't do my comm. Get 1 or 2 friends, because you'd have like 3 or 4 different modules, and be like, all right, you do this one, I do this one, you do this one, and just fill in with
Yeah.
as much
Oh,
random
yeah.
crap as you can think of, just so I got completion marks and pass
That's
this
funny.
class, right?
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
it'd be like the day before.
I think it was almost like the religion teachers didn't want to teach the religion classes almost. So
Yeah. Well, I mean, where I was going with that earlier was, well, maybe you could make it more interesting to them, and maybe, hey, you don't have to come out of this being super religious, but if you can teach a good lesson or motivation or
yeah,
whatever, maybe that'll stick a little bit more, right? So,
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Problem is that I think you have, between junior high and high school, you have people that's the age where you're too cool for anything.
Yeah.
And then if religion is also not seen as cool, I guess, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, very true.
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't, like, I only have grade 10, 11, 12, so I don't know if it was different when you were younger, like,
Yeah.
for the classes, but yeah, all I remember is watching movies in it, so. I mean, I'm sure we did more stuff, but.
Veggie
But when-
Tales.
No, yeah, that's exactly it. Oh, watch so many Veggie Tales. Yeah.
Oh boy.
Man, so many. Yeah. Honestly, watched Remember the Titans at least once a semester.
It's a classic movie, though.
But
a good
it's a
movie.
great film for sure. And then if you had a substitute or whatever when you walk into religion, you walk in, the lights are off, projectors down. You're like, oh, Remember the Titans is today.
Ain't no mountain high.
Yeah.
Ain't no
Left
valley
side.
low.
Strong side. Classic.
Oh boy.
Here, should we take a quick break?
Sure.
All right. talk into
Into
the
the mic?
microphone.
There you go.
Because I used to,
He could be on the other side of the room and it would pick him
with
up,
the
right?
ambient mic, I could just
Right, it's
yell
everywhere.
into the room as I was switching the camera stuff. But,
Do you have like a 30-minute record limit?
is.
yeah, that's the way for DSLR cameras. It's
No, I got the same camera for a church,
oh yeah,
Okay.
and so we started doing YouTube stuff.
yeah.
And then, well, like thankfully, my sister's boyfriend, he has like a legit camera.
Oh
And
okay,
so
yeah,
we started borrowing his, but like if he's not there,
yeah.
we use like the church's camera, which is like a DSLR. And then
Yeah,
if you go over 30 minutes, then
You
have
lose
to-
it. You have to.
Oops.
Someone
Hit it
has to
again.
be watching it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What I was saying is, being more what I would consider a Christian agnostic, I guess, is what I call myself. Right?
Yeah.
Is I'm open to things, and I mean, this doesn't quite make sense out of context without hearing yours.
What I was
but,
saying?
I kind of think of, it's not, things aren't absolutes, and something like meditating, maybe those aren't your own thoughts. I'm open to that idea, right? I mean, it could be either or, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. What I was saying was essentially that same thing. Like I'm open to it, but at the same time, meditation has done like a ton for me over the past probably close to almost 10 years now.
Yeah.
And just kind of when I ask for answers, I just sit down, shut my brain off, stop thinking as much as I can. And I mean, in that moment, sometimes things come to me, sometimes they don't. And I don't know. We have a sister, we'll call it a sister podcast.
yeah.
With a couple girls in Edmonton, and I was going to call it the town, but they're very like into like spiritual stuff and like that. So we always kind of joke with them like, "Oh, that's bullshit" and all that.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I don't know. Thompson and I are kind of like meta when it comes to that too. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like I said, I don't know the answers.
Yeah. I mean, I think that, to preface, I don't profess to know all the answers to, right?
Yeah.
And so I think, at the end of the day as well, like, on that note, be afraid of anyone that thinks they have all the answers.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah,
'Cause
yeah,
they're
for
probably wackos, but
Yeah. Well, I think the best pastors are still seeking. Like I think that is what you're doing, right?
yeah, I mean, no matter what, like, I think in anything, you always, have to be, I guess seeking is the best way to put it, right? And
sure.
and if you stop seeking, you stop growing, right? And that's really the essence of it. And so if I was preaching, I'd say write that one down.
There you go.
It's
Yeah.
the thing is this, like how I view God now is different than how I viewed God 8 years ago, right?
Sure.
And so it's always a progression of things, and the picture will always change, right? And it's not that, and the beauty is like, at least in my worldview, it's not that God changes, I change, right? And so as I change, God has to change because I'm changing, and so that's the progression of it. But like to your point that you're kind of saying, off camera, that you're spiritual. I think that we're all spiritual beings, right? We're spiritual people, and that's why, like, I think to me at least, I'm not trying to get down on atheists, but like
No.
that's the one thing about atheism that I think works against them, even for like, if you're not a Christian, it's that we're spiritual people, right? And so like atheism doesn't have any answer to that question. Why are we spiritual people?
Yeah.
Right? Where does that come from? And that's something that they have to answer, right? And it goes even deeper into that, right? Like why are we moral beings?
Yeah.
Right? Like where does our conscience come
Yeah,
from?
yeah,
right?
sure.
And so I think that the fact that we're all on a journey,
Yeah.
and I think it's ingrained into us to be spiritual, right? And it's just a matter of what does your journey look like, right?
Yeah.
And how do you get to where you're going to go? And so
With the psychology background, that's pretty interesting. Like,
yeah,
because you have that background, but also, I don't know.
yeah.
I'm going to say I don't know a lot in this podcast.
Seems to be the finishing remark on a lot of points, but maybe that's a good thing, right?
Be the
So,
way.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think too, like, if even the idea of meditation, it's really a distant cousin, if not a sister. It's meditation and prayer are one and the same, right?
Yeah.
It's even like if you go back in the history of, like just church and prayer, like meditation is a huge part of it. Because it's the same idea, right? Like you're focusing on something, outside of yourself, right? You're calming down, slowing down. And that's like, for me, I think that I would be better at prayer if I was better at meditation, right? The reason that I struggle to pray sometimes is because my brain won't shut off, right?
Yeah.
And so like I'll sit down to pray, but then it's like, okay, I got a podcast tonight, whatever, right? Like it's just there's a million things going on, and so I think the people that can pray best are those who can meditate the best. So I'm not saying you're onto something, but like you might, it's a practice that I don't know. I think they lend together.
Yes. No, I would see that, right? So I don't know. We also don't. You're very good, and I've always kind of said this, at making things more approachable and palatable. And even if someone's not a religious person and maybe they watch this whole thing and come out of it still not religious, at least they'll say, okay, I can at least see his perspective or understand. If they get some introspection out of it, maybe that's even you accomplishing your goal in some way too, right? So.
Yeah, I mean, I'm always like, to me, my job is not to change people's minds, right? Like, I'm not a great debater, and there's people that, like, that's, like, legit what they do, right?
Yeah.
And that's not my thing. I speak from what I've experienced and what I know, for myself, and so that's kind of the angle that I go through, and I think that I had a really deep thought, but I lost it when you said something, but maybe it'll come back. I don't know what it was, but
by all means, this is a very open space. Feel free to
I'm sure it'll come back.
Even if it's
I mean, I think everybody needs everybody's seeking an answer, because if you really get down to it, we're on a rock in the middle of this vast ocean of nothingness, and we're 7.5 billion of us on this rock, and we're floating through space at however many meters per second.
Yeah.
And you know what, man? Most people can't just like fathom that. Like I can't fathom that.
It's very hard to visualize.
Yeah.
We're just a speck in the larger picture.
But it makes you, I don't know. I've had this thought too. God damn, I'm going to say it. And here I go swearing.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm a guest on your podcast. So.
I'm going to say I don't know a lot. But I've had the thought that in meditating on that fact that we're this insignificant thing, but we're also like everything. It's like the biggest paradox ever, where you're everything, but you're nothing at the same time. And that's something that I just lay in bed at night with my eyes wide open. I'm just like, holy shit.
Yeah. Well, there's, what's that guy's name? That one podcast we just really love. The guy who was on Joe Rogan, the Angel List guy.
Naval Ravikant.
Naval Ravikant. So he had something really interesting where he said, yeah, you're a very small speck, but to describe everything and to describe, like, everything creates you, but you create everything. And that, okay, well, who is Josh? Okay, Josh is male. He is a human. He is a Edmontonian, Albertan, Canadian, North American. He lives on planet Earth. What's planet Earth? In the solar system.
Yeah. Milky Way galaxy.
Milky Way galaxy, Earth, kind of this funnel that goes like this. But then when you also think about it, you're like, okay, well, what is the universe? Oh, well, it's this big thing that has all these solar systems in it, which have planets, which have countries, which have people, which has Josh, right? So you create everything and everything creates you. It's kind of an interesting paradox. And if you're feeling kind of smaller or whatever, well, you can't describe yourself without describing the universe and whatever that might mean, I guess, right?
Yeah. There was something on Twitter the other day, and it was like, why do people's eyes look like stars when they explode or something? And there's just a bunch of like supernovas superimposed with like people's irises and the colors, like the color explosions and stuff. And I was just like, I don't know, man.
It blows your mind.
Yeah, man. It's like at the end of Men in Black when they're like playing with the marbles, but it turns out there's galaxies in the marbles or whatever. Do you remember that movie?
Maybe there is somebody out there pulling all the strings.
Yeah.
Something. Yeah. I mean, I think for me at least, I like the picture that that God in the Bible paints is this idea that like the universe is so vast, God is so big, but I'm so important still throughout it.
Right.
And so that's like, and I mean, that is to translate to all of us, right? We all have intrinsic value, and that's why we treat each other the way we treat each other, right? It's because you are valuable. And to me, it's, I guess that when I think of, that idea, like, I mean, I probably don't take enough time to think about how small I really am. But that idea that like, I'm just this one person on this planet in this, whatever, the whole thing, right? But then there's this idea that like, there's a God that transcends it. He's bigger than all of that, and he knows who I am.
Right.
Right. And so I think that, at least to me, there's a beauty in that, right? Where it's like, man, like, cause then for me, if I can see myself in that light, like it helps me see others in that same light. Right.
Oh, 100%.
And that's where like we go back to these like extremes, right? Where it's like, oh, we hate these people. We don't like these people.
Yeah.
Well, like I don't think you quite understand who God is then. Cause like, because God values this person on the far extreme the same that he values this person on the other extreme, right? And it's just this idea like how do we see ourselves? And that's kind of, at least for me, when I think of the grandness of everything, that's sort of the picture that kind of comes to my mind.
Damn. That was there was a lot of wisdom in that. I really like that. That was good.
Well, I mean, on the other side, there's a thinking, feeling human being.
Exactly.
People sometimes forget that.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. There's just I'm gonna say that way too much on this podcast. There's two things I want to touch on.
If there's words you repeat a lot, don't acknowledge it, and people won't hear it. But now they won't stop.
It's all
hearing
over.
It.
There's two things I was gonna take away is that people can't step out of that universe in the YOU sense, like universe, because they can't. Like you can't think outside of yourself. Like this is your experience.
Yeah.
It's all inside of you. This is Thomas's experience. This is Harrison's experience, right? And it's like people can't get out of themselves to see that there's so much more out there.
Yeah.
I think I'm using this word slightly wrong, but it's solipsism is something to do with that, of getting out of your own head, and then also I guess just being an empathetic person in a way, right?
Yes, because when you're solipsistic,
you
are very internalized.
Yeah.
Like you're very selfish.
Yeah.
Like everything is you.
Yeah.
But
then it's also like a philosophical argument of the only thing you know for sure is your own mind. But I don't know. It has like a few meanings, but it's also just kind of the inability to get out of your own head sort of thing. And also kind of almost assigning too much importance to your own stuff, your own life in a way. And then also, if you get super pissed off because you got a parking ticket or whatever, it's like, okay, well, yeah, that's annoying, but
there's people dying out there or something,
exactly, something like
that. Perspective. Yeah. What was I going to say to that point? There was something I was going to say to that point. It'll come back to me.
Sorry, interrupted.
No. I was going to interrupt you, but...
Oh. Well, good.
You ever see that episode of Futurama? Oh, I know what it was. I'll come back to that. But are you like into philosophy or anything?
I took a philosophy class, but I mean, yeah, a little bit.
Okay. Because I mean, I feel that stoicism and all this stuff plays into all of this. I don't know. It's just this huge wrapper of questions I have. I don't know. Have you ever seen that Futurama episode where Bender plays God and then he meets God? It's my favorite episode.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I was more Simpsons than Futurama. But.
I think you'd appreciate it though because he plays God in that there's this huge civilization because he gets shot out into space or something. I'm going to butcher this, but he gets shot out into space. There's this culture of little creatures that start growing on him. They form their own tribes and everything. And because he's out in space and whatever, he's going into eternity. They eventually evolve into what like a nuclear bearing civilization. And they eventually, it's commentary on a lot of things, but they eventually destroy each other. They destroy themselves and he's all alone again. And at the end of the universe, he meets this godlike figure who like talks to him and all this stuff and sends him back to Earth. And the punchline at the end of the episode, I'm going to ruin this for you, but I'm going to send it to you too. I'm going to watch this when I get home. The punchline is Bender is really pissed off when he lands in the snow and his friends find him and all this stuff. And he's like, yeah, God, he doesn't exist or whatever. And then it pans back to God and the episode ends. And he just says, when you do something right, people won't notice you've done anything at all or something. And then the episode ends and it's just, I don't
It's
know.
mind blown.
Have you seen that episode?
No.
You need to see this episode.
Huge,
You made me watch. You made me watch Love, Death, and Robots. So I'm gonna make you watch that.
Okay, no problem.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Send it my way.
I'm gonna send it both your ways.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'll check it out.
That's cool.
I have so many questions, man.
Like in general, or for Harrison specifically, because he is right here, so you can.
Just lay them on me.
Yeah.
I'll let you talk.
What? No.
I feel like
go
I've
ahead.
been
You said
asking
you had a bunch of
so many questions.
No, I'm
I don't
enjoying
know.
this. You're the one who yeah.
Oh boy. So, when did you first make contact with God?
It sounds like ET, like an ET.
Yeah,
type
it's
thing.
about to say first contact. That's a strange.
Phone home.
I was riding my bike.
They were. I was being hidden from government agents.
I love that movie too.
Yeah.
I mean, when did I first?
It's probably a dumb question for somebody else.
No, I'm trying to just, I guess, just rethink it in my mind.
Yeah.
I mean, like for me, like I've been a Christian my whole life with quotation marks.
Right.
Yeah.
You
I
know?
mean, I think
Which
we
is
are
a lot
too.
of people,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
They
So,
can be
I mean-
baptized, but
Yeah, I mean, for me, like, I think the first time that like I tangibly, felt God was, I mean, it's a funny story, I guess. I mean, looking back, but it was in New Year's Eve, 2011, turning to 2012.
so
Right.
So
graduated.
Yes,
high
this is our
school.
first year,
after.
first year out, first year out,
Yeah.
and
Sounds like getting out of prison. First year out. Anyways.
first year out, did 12 years hard time.
Yeah.
And I went to this New Year's party and, did what you do at a New Year's party.
Right.
And I got like blackout
Yeah.
drunk. And like, I don't even know how I got home type thing. Right.
Yeah.
And just, thank God for your buddies. But in kind of the weeks, even really like the day after, I just like, I had this weird feeling that like I never had before. And the essence of what like I felt like that feeling pushed me towards, it was two things. It was like, you're not going to be doing that anymore. And then the second thing was like when you go, cause I was on break from school. And so the second thing was like when you go back to school, bring your Bible with you. And like I didn't even know I had a Bible, but I was like, all right. And so like I dusted, I found one that I had in my room. And so, I mean, that was kind of like the first time I think like I tangibly, in a sense, felt God, like back to that whole thing of like, how does God speak, right? Like that was kind of the first time like I'd sort of felt it, right? And in that moment, like it wasn't, like I said, it wasn't necessarily a voice.
Yeah. It was just almost you speaking to yourself kind of thing, or?
Yeah, in a sense. And it was
Yeah.
just like this, again, like for those, it was just like this, like it was, I remember it was, it was like 3, 4, 5 days of just feeling that exact same thing.
Yeah.
And I thought this was so weird because like I'd gone out and done stuff like that before many times, right? And it was like,
But didn't have that feeling.
I never had that
afterwards.
feeling after, right?
Yeah.
And so, I mean, the prelude to that is like when I went to, out to college as a Christian school and different in that sense. And I think that, that's the first time God kind of started working in my life more than before. And so he was kind of there in a sense. And then when I had this event, that was kind of like this tipping point where God was like, okay, I got something different for you, right? Then like, this is like your way of life. This is what you know, but like I have something different for you. And it was like in that period, like in the next, 6 months after that is where the story I told earlier about becoming a pastor, like that was like the prelude to it. Right.
Yeah.
And so in that, in the months that preceded, that's where I met all these new people and just had new friendships. And So, I mean, that's probably the first time, like, I guess I made contact, if I'm thinking correctly. But yeah.
Huh. Interesting.
Well, I mean, I have a question. For you guys.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
when I,
Getting interviewed by the guest.
yeah. Thank you for joining me in the Long and Hard podcast.
This is Harrison and Chokka coming from an undisclosed location.
Like because for me now, like, I mean, more than ever before, like I'm surrounded by more Christians than I used to be, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so like I never want to get into like a place where like I can only speak in a way Christians kind of understand, like what I was saying earlier, right?
Yeah.
And so like from your guys' perspective, like when I say what I just said, like what do you guys like think or feel?
Do you want to go first or me?
You can.
I think it makes a lot of sense because I think I talk to myself all the time, telling myself what I should be doing, and I know what I should be doing, but I'm not doing it. And when I don't do it, I feel like I'm not on the path.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe listening to that voice, I'm not saying that it's God, or maybe that is, or maybe I don't. I'm just gonna start shrugging instead of saying I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I know certain things that I've done in the past that just weren't the right direction I needed to go, but I did them anyway out of whatever, and you just don't feel good when you do those things.
Yeah.
Yeah. This whole episode has been kind of
an introspection where
I've been sitting here like
you said a few
thinking
things
the
that
entire
made me
time.
actually like think like, oh, huh.
Yeah.
To answer that, I would say, I mean, that was actually a pretty good story, and I think, for me, I would say, it could be a combination of either yourself or your thoughts, or also whether it's God talking to you, or some combination of all of the above, right? And something like what Josh said, well, you probably know what you should be doing, and you talk to yourself in a way, but is that always your own voice, or what kind of implements that idea or something, right?
Yeah.
And then something I just thought of right now is, so I remember taking a psychology class, and the one question that was proposed and talked about in the textbook was, what are thoughts? Are they just you having an internal conversation, like speaking to yourself, or is it something more kind of abstract than that? And the answer is actually both, right? And it's plausible that those more abstract things aren't your own thoughts per se, I guess, right? Like I said, I'm pretty open to this. So for me, everything I just said, maybe it's completely wrong and it's just me talking to myself, right?
Yeah.
Or maybe it's something else. I haven't really entertained that idea, but again, I'm a semi-spiritual, self-reflective person. It could be a lot of different things, I think, right? So
What does every football player say when they win the
Super Bowl.
Super Bowl?
Yeah.
Praise God.
100%, man.
Yeah.
But I feel that people know what they love and know what they should be doing, and those guys know what they love and they're doing it. And regardless of whatever obstacles are put in their path or whatever, they blow through them because of that inner knowledge of what they should be doing, and that's what they were put on earth to do in their mind.
Yeah.
Could be right or wrong, but in their mind, that's what they're put on earth to do. And they're doing it.
Yeah.
And I think everybody has that. And everybody knows what they should be doing, but to pursue that is tremendously scary in a lot of cases. And I mean, sometimes unrealistic, most times unrealistic.
Yeah.
But you won't be satisfied with yourself unless you actually do those things.
Yeah. And I guess within that, it could be either complete divine intervention. It could be complete, let's call it, I guess, the atheist view, or maybe somewhere right down the middle seems to be a theme, at least for you and I, right? So,
Yeah.
But, Can I ask you a question? And if it's too weird, you don't have to answer. But from your perspective, when one sports team wins the Super Bowl or the Stanley Cup over the other, but there's probably fans on both sides praying for that win.
Yeah.
What do you think is the
Yeah,
cause of that? And I'm not trying to like doubt you or anything. I'm just curious to hear what you have to say.
I'm a big Bruins fan.
Yeah,
still, like,
I remember that
for
actually.
life.
I do remember that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, we've occasionally thrown out prayers, but it's mostly in jest.
Yeah.
But I think the idea of prayer, like, that's really the bigger question, right? Like, what is it? Like, does it make a difference?
Yeah.
I think the main thing that, like, I've, you know, trying to learn about prayer is that prayer for the most part is for us, right? Kind of like meditation is for us. Like, it's for our betterment and our good. And so to have a walk with God, like, you know, we get to a point, and I'm not doubting any of these football players or whatever,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
But
I mean, it is what they always say. You
yeah,
know?
for sure.
100%.
And to them, like, I think that, I mean, other than beating around it, I'll get right to the question, more than beating around it. The essence is, like, I don't think that God intervenes in any way in sporting events. That's the long and the short of it. But, like, I do believe that, you know, like, for whoever it is, like, I mean, especially like football players and basketball players, you know, they're generally more spiritual than like hockey players.
Yeah.
Like hockey players won't say it as much as like a basketball player will.
Being more higher percentage Americans and stuff too, even, right?
So,
yeah.
But I do think that, you know, kind of like what Josh was saying before, this idea of like, this is what I'm meant to do type thing. I think that, you know, there's a grace that you've been allowed to play this sport, that you're healthy, you know, and so I think that in anything, right? Like, that's, to me, like, and I don't know all these dudes personally, obviously. If I did, I'd probably not be here, but
you'd be on a better podcast.
I'd be on, like,
honestly.
yeah, I'd be on Spittin' Chicklets right now.
Yeah.
But no, I think it's just more so like, you know, I think if we were to give God any praise, it would just more so be like, man, thank you for that, your health, right? Like, that I'm
like for each individual.
Exactly,
kind of
right?
thing, right?
So, like, yeah, I mean, I don't think God's putting pucks in the nets.
Yeah.
And there's literally just, like, to me, like, I truly believe there's just certain prayers that, not that God can't answer, but he won't answer. And that's just more so for how he works, right? Like, if I understand the Bible correctly, like, one of God's gifts, I guess, / curses, but just how he works, like, his ultimate will for us is that we have free will.
I was going to ask you about that,
yeah. And the idea that we have free will is, you know, it's something that we as humans think we want. And so he's given it to us, and obviously, you know, there's pros and cons to it,
right.
And we see, you know, the cons as well. But
yeah.
So for God to start intervening in football games, right? In a sense, it infringes on that free will aspect of stuff, and just like, yeah, I guess that's my answer.
One thing that sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say that's good, and I was kind of thinking as you were saying that, well, whether it's prayer or meditation or just self-reflection or self-improvement or whatever, it is up to all those individuals to do that, right? And then in theory, you know, if you're asking God for all these things, it's like, no, it's probably about you and what you need to do, not, okay, now because you asked nicely, I'm going to let the Bruins win sort of thing, right? So
No, and I was going to talk about that, is that I feel that some people take religion and prayer as I did that, now I don't have to do anything. If it's meant to be, my prayers will be answered. If I don't do anything, well, it wasn't meant to be, right? Yeah. But I think that the people that know how it works or whatever, they're taking the action on top of, you know, saying their prayers or whatever. I have a buddy who's deeply, I want to say he's Christian too, but and he told me about how he got into private banking, and it was because he didn't know what he was doing and all this stuff, and then he was asking for a sign or whatever, and all of a sudden he was watching an interview with Jamie Dimon, who is like the CEO of Morgan Stanley in the States, or JP Morgan, one of the two, and he just knew that's like the path that he was supposed to go on or whatever, and
would you say you don't know?
Well, I'm trying to say it less. It's gonna be a sound. I'm just 1 sec. We're gonna cut those all up
Yeah.
into this podcast, it's gonna be like
I don't
30
know.
of
I
them.
don't know.
I don't know. I have no idea. No, I think to me, like, it goes back to what we were kind of saying before, or you guys were just saying, the idea that, when I speak, it's almost motivational in a sense. I think that, and, the Bible done right, I think there is a motivational aspect to it, right? Like, obviously there's what Jesus has done for us, but the second part of that is like, okay, now this is what you need to do as a result of it, right?
Yeah.
And if, to the point, like, and I think that this is where Christians can get in trouble, and I probably, again, have far more Christian experiences than you guys, but, like, I see a lot of people, it's like, well, I'm just waiting on God and waiting for a door to open, and I'm like, that's fine, like, wait on it, but at the same time, like, all the stories that, at least for me in my life, that I've experienced God, it's always been like this prompting I felt, but then there's been something required of me to do. Right? It's like, even, for our church that we started right now, like, I felt that prompting from God, and like, that's a whole other story, but the biggest thing I had to do was quit my job, right? Which was like super scary, and like, I got a mortgage and all that kind of stuff, right? But it was like, if we want to step out into it, whatever it is, and if we want God to meet us there, then like, there's that part that we have to play as well, like, where we do something. And that's, as I speak, and like, I don't want to leave people with this false impression where it's like, hey, just, pray, and it's like, I mean, it's like, for example, like, I think that, your story with your injury and stuff, like, I mean, we can talk after. I'll probably get more details of it, but
we can talk right now too.
Yeah, I mean, but the way that I see it is like, hey, it's a miracle, you know, that you can walk.
Yeah.
And but it's by God's grace you can still walk. But there was also rehab you had to do, right? Like, it wasn't like it was just all good, right? Like, there's a part that you had to play, and I think that that's where it's like easy to miss out that aspect sometimes.
Yeah.
And
I mean, there was always a voice in my head, maybe my own, maybe not. It said I was going to be okay.
Yeah.
And it said I was going to walk again. And here I am. So, but obviously there's work involved in that and everything too. So, I think people go to the everything happens for a reason type of thing.
Yeah.
And maybe that's just another religion on top of religions and all of that. But, I always say everything happens for a reason.
Yeah.
It happened, and now I take from it the positives and go forward with it. And, help other people that have been through similar circumstances or whatever it may be. So, there's always that telling me, though. There's something pushing me that I knew I was going to be okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. I was actually listening to this thing today, and you kind of just said it. And I mean, it kind of goes back to, like, we were talking about atheism earlier, and one of, like, the biggest reasons people push towards atheism, among others, is like this idea of like, okay, well, if there is a God, like, why does bad things happen?
Yeah.
Right? Like, why is there suffering? Whatever it may be. And I was listening to something today, and I mean, I've believed it to be true, but one of it's not that, God causes suffering, but one thing that God takes out of suffering is that, like, he uses it to bring upon something good, right? Out of it, right? It's not like with your injury, right? Like, it sucked, but now it's like, hey, look what's coming out of it. And there was, speaking of philosophy, the guy quoted a philosopher, I don't know who it is, and I'll butcher the quote, but the philosopher basically just said, like, if I could go back in time and erase all the hard moments in my life, all the suffering, he's like, would I do it? And he's like, no, I wouldn't. He's like, because I wouldn't be the person I am today.
Right.
Right. And so that's kind of, as you're talking about your story, that's what I think of, right? It's like, did it happen for a reason? Like, did it have to happen? Maybe not, but it happened, and like, out of it now you have all this good, right? And
well, I mean, I've always been looking at the positive of whatever it may be. I always try. There's a podcaster called, his name is Jocko Willink. He's a ex-Navy SEAL and all this stuff, but he has this thing where he just says good all the time, and it's like, it's raining outside, good, I'll go and work out inside or something. And he just takes whatever the situation is and just says good, and looks for the positive in it, and then just you know, takes it and goes from there. And I feel like a lot of people could benefit just by doing that, in that seeing, there's shitty situations, right? But if you look for the positives or the lessons in those scenarios, at least you can take something out of it that makes you a better person, hopefully. And if not a better person, but then somebody that has experience and perspective that can talk to people about that sort of thing, for example.
Yeah.
There's going to be another compilation of me shrugging.
Yeah. We need a fan to make some supercuts for us, but
Oh boy.
no, I don't know. That's good. I think, I don't know. I feel like I'm doing a lot of thinking in this episode. It's really good, right? So
I'm supposed to get up at 5 a.m. tomorrow for our very long
start
and
of
hard
Sober
October.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be up all night thinking.
Yeah. Well, even, it's, I don't know. I had a lot of profound thoughts now just thinking about what you said relating to your injury, and then thinking, and then to tie it back to the, maybe it could have been that sort of thing. That if I try to articulate it now, I'm just going to stutter through it sort of thing. So,
So I don't know is just the best.
yeah, I don't know. Huh.
I feel that podcasting is a great medium, but when I want to get to that level of introspection, I have to write it out. And I have to go back and just go through it 100 times.
Yeah.
Because to say it in the moment, I'll sound like a blubbering idiot. 100%. Yeah.
Exactly.
100%.
Yeah, not articulate it nicely or anything.
Yeah.
But
100%. I'm
no,
with you
that's
there.
Did you have another question for Harrison?
I'm sure I have a lot of
that all
questions.
stemmed from my sports question, actually. So
This has been this is going
good.
down as
That's
deep
good.
as
I like it.
podcast
No,
of the
I
year
like
for sure.
I like the rabbit hole. I'm in for it if everyone else is. So yeah.
People are going to be listening to this like, what are they talking
Yeah.
about? It's
Well,
like, what has happened to these
you are
guys?
supposed, like, I always tell people you should be listening to a podcast more or less start to finish, just because you're partaking in the conversation and as it builds or whatever, right? So hopefully everyone's having their own little journey as they're listening to this, right? In all seriousness, right? Like we want to think and learn interesting things, and
100%.
hopefully
the
people
beauty
who
for
watch our
them,
show are, right?
They can just pause.
Yeah,
and think.
sit
And
there
they
and
can
think about it.
They can sit there for 3 days and think
Exactly.
about
Yeah,
that,
and
you
then
know?
come back.
Whereas
We have to
we're
sit
here in the
and be
moment,
like,
where it's like I'll think of something very articulate, and I'll text Harrison like 3 days later or something. Oh boy,
That's good.
interesting. So, for you with your church, I guess, can I ask just what is your goal with it, sort of thing? And I mean this more as your friend as well. Do you just want to grow it to be a big church? Do you want to, I guess, take over the world in a good way? Where do you want to go?
I want to
with
run
it?
this place.
Yeah.
No, I mean the essence, like, of when we started our church. One of the big things that we kind of said is I just went through like the last census that was done in Edmonton and surrounding areas, and
okay.
basically we came to the conclusion that there's like at least 600,000 people in our area that don't know who Jesus is. And so the goal of our church from the start, we've always said we want to make a dent in that number, because and again, I speak from my own life, like walking with God, walking with Jesus, like there's been nothing better in my life, right? Like and just the places I've gone, the things I've done, and it's been so amazing. And so for me, I want people to be able to experience a little bit of what I've experienced. So yeah, I mean, our long-term goal, like, is to, we want to reach more people in our area. Right now our church is in St. Albert, and
is it the same location as before, or is it
no,
it's a totally different place?
Yeah, it's a new place
Okay.
where we meet. We rent from a church,
Yeah.
and they renovated a space in a strip mall, and so it's a cool spot. Like, that was one thing too. We wanted to be in a place that didn't look like a traditional church,
Right.
and so it used to be a bar and yoga studio. So It's like perfect.
Definitely not a church.
No, we get people. We got people, like a few people, and my one buddy. He's like, man, he's like, I got in a fight right here, like one night. he's like, now I come to church here, and I'm like, that's the coolest story ever. So
That's good, actually.
yeah, so we
You should start your next story with that.
exactly. So no, we're like, I mean, my goal right now, we want to, make an impact in St. Albert, and then I would love to kind of expand into West Edmonton with like a second location type thing, and then really from there, like that's kind of right now, my goals. As far as that, and then just see how things go. Obviously, as time goes on, I'm sure I'll think bigger and more provincial, national, whatever. But right now, just kind of thinking there, living day by day. And and I got my 2 kids coming, so
Yeah, man.
that'll
congrats. Congrats. Yeah, that's awesome.
I guess with the internet and all that though, and podcasting and whatever, you can get the message out there, right?
Yeah.
Pretty far, I think. So
yeah, and that's like, I mean, we do the whole podcast thing, and we're on YouTube. I shouldn't say kind of. We're kind of on YouTube. We're on YouTube.
yeah.
You either are or you aren't.
Yeah. So I mean, for me, like I always, I think I don't know if it was before we were talking, but just the idea of quality, right? And so it's like a single shot camera. That's it. And so for a while, I was like, exactly. Shout out to the YouTubers. For a while, I was like, I don't want to do anything until we have 3
perfect.
cameras and da-da-da.
Oh, yeah.
But then, to your point, like, if there's going to be people that, like, before they ever step foot in a building, they'll go on YouTube, right? And check it out. And that's one thing that we're kind of like, big on, is that, like, our front door isn't actually our front door. It's our social media, because that's what people are going to see way before they ever walk in to our things. So, I mean, we're all the same age, so I don't need to tell you guys that media is the future. Cause it's our reality, right? So
Yeah, definitely. We control it, though.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
Yeah. No, that's good. And I mean, there's something in that of like just getting started as well, right? Where our video component isn't perfect by any means, but it's actually really helped increase our viewership and listens because people just engage with it, and some people actually like to see us as well, right? So
I haven't looked at you guys, but I love you.
Some people are really good at like talking to cameras. Like the really good YouTubers, they'll just put that camera in front of them and talk to you like you are in the room, like talking into your eyes type of thing.
Well, I think that's being a good storyteller, I guess. Right? Yeah. But that's also one thing I get. And for me, I always had a huge fear of getting in front of cameras and stuff. And perhaps this has helped because it's over there and I kind of forget about it because I'm turned. Well, I've also been sitting strategically since we started where I'm generally turned fairly away from the camera anyways. So it just kind of happened that way, right? But, it's good to get out there and get your message out there, whatever that is, or your business or career or whatever.
Yeah,
I
mean,
right?
it's honestly like it's for anyone in startup mode, right? Like, inevitably, we're not a business, but we go through the same struggles as a startup business, right?
That 100%. As you've shared some of that, I've kind of been thinking, you are actually quite entrepreneurial in the way you think and stuff too, where we kind of relate on that respect, right?
For me, I like to, as much as I do like whatever spiritual stuff, like I pour into myself leadership stuff equal amount, right? Because it's like I said, I can pray all day, but like, hey, I need to learn how to be a leader too, right? Because there's people that and that's that's the biggest thing I think for any startup is just like if you have content, like I mean, make sure it's decent, but if it's decent, just get it out there, right?
Someone's gonna enjoy it, right?
And that's why I appreciate you guys because I follow you guys and you guys are pretty good.
Oh,
like
at least we appreciate that.
You guys got what, like 4 posts a week, like video posts even?
That's what I try
Something
to do.
like that,
somewhere between 3 to 5. Some weeks it's 0, but I try to do at least a couple, right? So,
but it's like the way and when I see like even that's how I know about you guys, right? Is from the stuff you've pumped out, and it's cool because we said at the start, like we haven't connected a ton since high school, but now with social media, it's like, hey, we're actually still connected.
It's even the age-old question of oh, would you, because I mean, our 10-year reunion is around the corner. And lots of people are like, oh, would you go to it? Well, you almost don't need to because you probably have a vague idea
I've
of
seen
what
all you
everybody's
guys
doing.
Yeah.
And then even if you haven't seen them in like 5, 6 years, 7 years, whatever, you probably, like, we could pull names out of a hat of people we went to high school with. Maybe we won't because I don't like to name drop too much. But be like, oh, yeah, I think they're doing right? So.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. And hopefully they're all listening to the Long and Hard podcast. Shit, the camera turned around.
That is kind of the thing, though. Is social media allows you to stay connected, even if it's like at a arm's length type of way, right? Where it's, I mean, maybe you're not talking every day or even every year type of thing, but you know, people see what you're doing.
They know it's
Yep, definitely.
Yeah, it's like there was this old adage people used to say, like, oh, when you leave high school, you're not going to see those people again. You'll never know anything. But now it's like, I know exactly what they're doing.
High school never ends, man.
So, but I mean, I think it's cool though at the same time, right? That there's still that connection.
Well, I mean, if you don't like them, you can unfollow them, I suppose. But
yeah,
who's gonna do that? So.
Do we actually have like a 10-year reunion?
I don't think anything's set.
Did they do something?
Nothing's set.
Nothing's set.
I believe I don't like the school definitely wouldn't put that on. It would need to be
Someone.
Somebody in the class type of thing.
Take the initiative sort of thing, right? So, and I'm sure if the school, you're like, hey, can we have the gym for the night or whatever, they'll be like, yeah, sure.
Well, we have a podcast that touches every single person that we went to high school with.
So
we
all
probably
subscribed and have left 5-star reviews. Thank you. Get on it if you haven't.
Come on. Hey, honestly, that's like, I mean, for me, like, I think that, and I got to get better at it, but I think we would all do well to support each other in the grinds that we like, because we're all grinding, right? And so I think it's, you know, if you can't count on people that you went to high school with, who can you count on?
Yeah.
So
I don't know if you can count on those people anyway.
Yeah, but
yeah, it'd be, I mean, it's at least, you know, when I see you guys, like, I'm like, hey, they're a startup, you know, and even so it's like, hey, let's support whatever way we can, and
absolutely. Yeah. Do you have any more? We totally went on a tangent there.
Hard driving questions.
Hard driving questions. I feel like you gave this some thought.
I'm gonna go deep into my hole and think. I think tonight, but
and part 2 comes out after.
Yeah, part 2.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like, oh shit, I forgot to ask him like 30 questions. Harrison, can you come back tomorrow, please?
Yeah, exactly. 10-part miniseries.
I'm gonna send you guys that Futurama episode though.
Yeah, that's good. We'll check it out.
We'll put that in the show notes.
So I had a question, but I kind of forgot of it. So, but anyways.
Well, that's great.
We're really nailing it here.
You can tell our interview skills are tremendous.
Well, I think our interview skills are good in a lot of ways.
We're more conversational.
We're more conversational, but we are good at when a guest says a good topic or idea or whatever, we can actually grab it and run with it a little bit, or but you can. Something can click where you're like, oh, this person's interested about this. Let's
go deeper.
Go deeper with them, right?
Oh, most definitely.
Yeah. No, you guys did a good job. Don't worry.
Thanks, bro.
Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
I guess where can people find you if they're curious to hear more about what you have to say?
They can find me on my personal Instagram account. Just really creeping towards 400 followers, so I'm getting pretty big.
Oh boy, nice.
But honestly, my personal account, I don't say too much on it. So if they want to hear more, I guess from me per se, I would say follow a Kingdom Church YEG on Instagram, and then from there, like, you should be able to find our podcast and our YouTube stuff and more content. And I know that. I should probably, pump more on my personal account. Yeah. That's one thing that I need to get better at, but I have this.
Do you just search Kingdom Church on YouTube and
probably type in like Kingdom Church Harrison Chokka. That's probably your best bet.
Okay,
Since I think we have like 10 subscribers, we're probably not top of the list.
Well, I think. Oh, here we go. Here you are. Yep.
Got more subscribers than we do.
Nice. And then is the podcast just the same thing? Kingdom Church on all your
Yeah.
podcast platforms?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have a website as well?
Yeah, kingdomchurch.ca.
Yeah.
Everything you need is there.
Nice.
Yeah, so we're trying to
Awesome.
keep it as coordinated as possible.
Cool. Well, we'll throw up a link and people can learn a little more about that, or if they want to check it out, see
For sure. Yeah,
see
and
what's out there. Yeah.
if you guys have deep questions like Josh or Thomas, you can just you can shoot them to me in my DMs, and that's the only slide into my DMs that I accept.
Nice.
Well, yeah. I mean, I guess that's in what a pastor is also for, is to ask those questions too,
Definitely.
right? So, for someone who maybe has a religious related question or not, I think Harrison would be open to it, right?
Yeah.
So
Maybe a general question about life.
yeah.
Yeah. Or about the Boston Bruins, because
Yeah.
I got vast knowledge on that as well.
What? Yeah. Is that who you got this year?
We'll find out. Like when you get to Game 7 of the Cup Finals the year before,
Yeah.
and
Oh,
lose,
it's hard
and,
to do
and
it
lose,
again.
it's hard to
Yeah,
come
they went
back.
Pretty,
So.
Yeah, it's pretty hard.
went pretty far.
I mean, over the last decade, they've been performing though. So
Yeah, I think they're one of the best teams in the last 10 years. So.
yeah. So
That'd be so nice to have a team that's is consistently going to be good. Your thoughts are, will we miss the playoffs for 18 years in a row? Or it's not, it'll be more, okay, what position will we be in when we make the playoffs? How far are we going to go, right? So,
yeah.
Hey, I'm honestly though, like, I mean, I've always been an Oilers fan,
Mhm.
but there's no player that I like watching as much as McDavid. He's just, just sick.
That's
yeah.
fair.
So I'm
That's very fair.
like the last 3 years, like I've watched more Oilers games than I have my entire life, just because of him. So
Yeah.
I'm pretty on the train. So
He's bringing the show back.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we would be so screwed if we didn't have
we would be so
McDavid.
done, man.
It would be, we would still lose every game, but we wouldn't have one guy leading the league in points or whatever, unfortunately.
You're amazing when you're leading the league in
On a
points
terrible team.
and your team is
That's
last.
actually crazy that
Yeah.
you can do that and we still lose games. It makes no sense, right? I feel like every other sport in the world, when you have one of the best players or one of the better teams, like soccer and stuff. Granted, there's unlimited salary cap, I suppose, but
I was gonna say basketball
yeah,
because like Kawhi Leonard and
Yeah.
all the
well, yeah,
one player
it's been
dominates.
the NBA Finals. It's either been Kawhi, LeBron, or Curry in the finals.
Yeah, for
Like
15
2 out of the
years.
3 for the last
Yeah.
8 or 9 years or something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah. Hockey's probably the one sport where like the whole team
matters.
matters.
100%.
Yeah, you can't
can't
have
play the whole
3
time.
power forwards and 2 fill guys and be like, all right, we'll probably win a championship.
Shooter, tutor, and net.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah, I mean, there's probably some football and baseball guys just screaming at their screens right now as we say that. But anyways,
I think we're biased because you're a hockey player
Oh,
too,
yeah.
right? So yeah.
we played together actually.
Did you?
Yep.
Nice.
White Mud West.
Oh boy.
Northwest Zone actually. Thank you.
Was
so
it?
much. Yeah. Well, both.
But
'Cause
we
to grade 12 we played together.
did?
Yeah. Maybe it was grade 11.
Probably grade 11.
For real?
Yeah, man.
My mind's
I don't think you played in grade 12. Did you?
No, I played. I want to say I didn't play grade 11 and then play grade 12, or maybe I played grade 11 and 12. if
my
I'm
mind
not
is
mistaken.
blown right now.
Yeah.
I only like am picturing White Mud West days.
No, we were like we weren't really friends or hung out outside of hockey,
Yeah.
other than being friendly with each other per se. But no,
Yeah.
we were on the same team.
I just remember bringing you, Lucas Roberts, and Tyson Milan to a shooting session one night,
Yeah.
and that was fun. That was a good time.
Was
Oh,
it?
when you were doing Golden.
Yeah, I was
Was-
like doing my training or whatever,
Oh
and
yeah.
brought these 3 guys out
We
to shoot.
actually, speaking of Tice, we were I think after we graduated, me and him did like some skating, power skating classes.
Okay.
Yeah. These
Like
kids,
coach.
we
them?
coached him, yeah.
Oh, okay.
But these kids were teaching me how to skate.
Yeah, they're like 5-year-olds teaching you how to skate.
Yeah.
100%.
Oh yeah, yeah. Man, do you ever? I mean, I wouldn't say I'd go watch it because it sounds creepy, but have you ever walked past the brick tournament at the mall?
Oh yeah.
And those are like, there's so many current NHLers who have played that in the past, but you look and it's a little kid and they're just have such a beautiful, amazing stride and such good hands. Like, I suck at hockey.
Yeah. All the time.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, okay. Well, I mean, is that about it to call it an episode? Unless, do you have any questions you want to ask us or anything like that?
I don't know. I don't have any more pressing questions. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yourself?
But by like
anything.
Feel free. We're open books.
I feel like this is a bad date. It's like, ask me anything.
Just ask.
Yeah. Well, don't be,
Don't be
afraid.
shy.
Don't be shy. No pressure.
I mean, I think throughout I've kind of got a picture of you guys and your thoughts on stuff. So I don't know if I have like a general big question per se. I mean, the one that I was curious on was just like, when I speak, what do you think, right? Like, that was kind of, other than that, like, not per se. So, I mean,
awesome.
Yeah, I mean, thank you guys for having me on the podcast. And
thanks for coming.
No problem. Thanks for coming. I think we'll have to have you back for sure. 100%.
Yeah, get those deep questions ready for part 2, and
oh boy.
in the
It'll
future,
be a 7-hour live stream podcast. Yeah, and then I guess check out Harrison Kingdom Church on all your media platforms, and
go check them out.
Yeah,
Saturdays, right?
Yes, sir.
Oh yeah, or you can, if you want to,
if you want to go to the church,
leave the house, go to church. You can go to the actual church as well. Yeah,
leave the house.
Yeah,
what?
Yeah,
awesome.
Every Saturday, is it?
Yes, sir.
What time of day?
Every week. It's at 11 in the morning.
That's good. Again, to play to the whole making church easier to go to thing. I think so.
That's accessible.
Yeah, accessible. That's a good word.
Yeah, because like Saturday morning, everybody's.
Even if you didn't do anything the night before, you're still moving slow in the morning.
11 a.m. You're probably.
You should probably be out
unless
of the
you
house.
had a really hard.
This was
night.
a real rough.
If it was a really.
If
you were really fighting it,
Yeah.
I mean.
Well, I've done in the past. I think Altitude is in the evenings, right?
Yeah.
I think it was Sunday nights.
Sunday nights. Yeah.
And I've just found evenings are just harder for people.
Yep.
Especially, I mean, like, and myself, right? Like, I don't want to go to church in the nighttime generally, so.
Yeah.
I'd rather, do it early, and I mean, to that effect, that's one of, our core values is accessibility.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you go to the website, you can read all about our core values.
Nice.
Awesome. I like it.
There you go.
Actually, can I ask you one question before we finish?
Yes.
Do you drink?
No, I don't.
No. Okay. I was gonna ask if you want to join Sober
October. I mean, it'll be extremely easy for me. But I got to work out too, right?
Yeah, you have to work out every day, and you need to do a personal challenge every day, whatever that may be for you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You have all of 3 hours.
3 hours and 15 minutes to sign up.
15 minutes. Good math. There you go.
Yeah. Sign me up.
Okay. All right.
Because I mean, I got the sober part quite easy. So.
Yeah, I'm on the same boat too. It's just going to be the challenge for me is going to be interesting.
Yeah, I got to think of one in 3 hours, I guess.
Yeah, there you go.
We'll talk about some sample ones after the show to give you an idea.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Okay, awesome.
Cool, man.
Well, thanks again.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you guys.
It. Now, wait just a minute. Before you go, just a sincere thank you for listening to the show. You can find new episodes of the Long and Hard podcast every Wednesday morning, about 9 a.m.-ish, give or take. Don't hold me to that. We really appreciate you subscribing. If your podcast platform allows you to leave a review, please leave us a kind review if you've enjoyed the content here. Just a reminder, Long and Hard podcast. You can also find our other shows, other channels, the Millennial Homeowner podcast hosted by me, and the Invictus podcast hosted by Josh. If you head over to our website, longandhardpodcast.com, and see our other shows there. Once again, a quick reminder that Thomas Harrington and Joshua Blaze are licensed real estate professionals in the province of Alberta, and any discussions here involving real estate are not intended to solicit buyers or sellers under contract. And just a friendly reminder, hey, this is a conversation. This show is not intended to be legal or professional or medical or any other kind of specific advice, please consult a relevant professional in said area before acting on anything or any ideas you might get here. Thanks for listening as always, and we'll see you next week. Peace.